But let's move on. Let's shift focus and let's talk about what's happening with Info Edge. They've seen an uptick in the fourth quarter. Let's try and analyze the quarter went by and, of course, what lies ahead. We've got with us Chintan Thakkar, the CFO and ED at Info Edge, joining in on the show right now. Chintan, hi, good morning. Good to have you on the show. As I see it, the profit in the fourth quarter has been supported by an exceptional gain. What is this exceptional gain, and what would you say led to the decline in the operating profits by almost 45%?
Yeah. Let me recast how the P&L would look like, right? So you are looking at the consolidated P&L, and there's a notional accounting gain because of the dilution that happened in Zomato, Policybazaar, because third party came and infused the funds into it. So keep that apart. For really operating businesses of Info Edge, you have to look at standalone. And the best way to look at it is the billing, right? Because billing tells you what happened in the quarter. The revenues, because we have subscriptions and revenue recognition, it kind of really tells you what happened in the earlier quarter. So if you really look at billing, we posted 415 crore of billings as a standalone operating company. And that's 25% up from what it was in the previous year. But recognizing that even in the previous Q4, there was a little bit of an impact of COVID. So if you look at the previous year of that previous year, which is like FY19, and if you compare it, we are still showing something like 15% growth in our operating billings, which really shows that it's a good sign in terms of how the rebound is, and we have seen that this rebound happening across all verticals. We have also seen that because the cost efficiency and the operational cost, because of the work from home environment, is kind of bit subdued. The cash generation is very strong, right? So for Q4 itself, the cash EBITDA was something like around 43%. So we have seen that the billings is strong, the cash generation has been strong in Q4, and practically we are at the pre-pandemic FY19 type of level with actually a little bit more of cash generation in that. So I think it's a good rebound story in Q4. It kind of offsets whatever the Q1, Q2 sluggishness in the business was. It's kind of, to some extent, it cancels that in Q4.
Right. Interesting. So, since you did say that your billings have indeed improved quite significantly, could you tell me when you see the billings actually convert to revenues, and what is then a sustainable EBITDA margin that one can expect going forward?
Yeah, so a great question. So whatever the billings are in Q4, over the next 9 to 12 months, that would become revenue, right? So what we are seeing in this quarter eventually will become an EBITDA. Will come into the reported EBITDA margins, right? So right now the EBITDA margins is about 18%. But if you look at roughly FY18, FY19, we were in the range of around 25, 30, 31% kind of a range. And we think that if the trend continues like this, we should be reaching in that step sooner than later.
Okay, so that's the outlook coming in there. What about customer trends in the 99 acres business? When do we see that returning to profit?
Yeah. So again, if you really purely look at cash EBITDA in 99 acres, and as I said that we have seen the growth and recovery in billings and cash generation across all verticals. Same story is for 99 acres as well. So we have seen that actually in Q4 it was generating cash for us. Having said that, must also add here that in Q1, particularly April and May, we have seen dip in our traffic and the overall inquiries on our platform kind of was impacted because of the lockdown. However, we are seeing again a recovery in the month of June, so hopefully we should kind of bounce back faster. But we did see in Q3 last year as well as as a Q4 of last year, we did see recovery in real estate side as well. Let's see how soon we bounce back from the second wave, and we are pretty confident that that trend will continue.
Okay, so from what you're saying, since all verticals are doing well, I'm assuming Jeevansathi has as well, or you can share more details on that with me. But, overall, which business do you see contributing more to profits, as you see growth coming back online and as we move forward? And you're, taking a look at the outlook, let's say over the next fiscal or so, where do you see more of the contribution coming in?
Yeah. So for Jeevansathi, we are in that investment mode. We are doing a bigger brand push. So there is a cash burn in Jeevansathi. So again, for Q4, we would have burn something around 20 crore, as a cash burn in the Jeevansathi business. But that's also growing at a faster rate because there is also a brand push from our end. Right? So there, we are not number one, number two. So obviously, we need to be investing, a little bit more behind that. And that's what our strategy has been past 2 years. And we are continuing with that because we have seen the results of that strategy. So we are likely to continue with that push on branding side, and we'll continue to do cash burn in Jeevansathi for at least next foreseeable few quarters, certainly. So overall, if you look at all 4 verticals, we have seen a good turnaround even in the education classified. Real estate has been a little bit patchy because of the lockdown. They're not there. So a few cities here and there. So I think that's kind of a little patchy. But the trend is that it's also rising. But the biggest contributor
it's Naukri business. Is the job business, recruitment business. I think that's the biggest contributor for us from the top line standpoint, as well as from the standpoint of profitability.
With viewers and investors, the timeline for the Zomato and Policybazaar IPO, is there a delay here?
Well, look, Zomato has already filed DRHP, so I think the ball is in SEBI's court mostly. So I'm sure they are working towards the timelines. For Policybazaar, DRHP is not yet filed, right? So it's only once they will file the DRHP that we would really be able to tell about what the exit plans are. And in Zomato, DRHP is already filed, so I think we are already in that process.
And for Zomato in particular, any particular consumption patterns you're observing? What is the outlook on how you see financials as well shaping up?
Well, unfortunately, because we are in the midst of DRHP process, I would not really be able to give you an indication of that. What I can say as an investor from our end is that we have announced that we can do an offer for sale up to 100 million, which is 750 crore kind of money. And as and when the final, the IPO will happen, we will decide, what exactly is the amount that we would want to do as an offer for sale. But of course, given that, we have large holding of almost like around 17%, this is a very, very small component of that. And we'll take a final call when, as and when the final RHP is being finalized.
All right. Won't probe there, but appreciate your time. Thanks very much, Chintan, for joining in and walking us through the overall business, how each of the verticals are faring and what the game plan is going forward.